Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to today's conversation. I am Enolia, joined by my co-host Sarah Jane. You want to say hi?
Hi.
And we are here and joined by the lovely Miss Stefania Puleo, a dear friend of mine. Stefania is the world's #1 men's love relationship coach and hypnotherapist, and she's a personal trainer, an author, and an optimist. And we're so happy to have you here. And today's conversation is going to be on signs you are dating a toxic woman, how to know she is poisonous in your life. And this should be a really interesting conversation because you're a men's relationship coach. And before we even get started, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you happen to be a men's relationship coach?
Yes. Hello, Enolia and Sarah. How are you today? And everybody watching, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. It's been wonderful. Well, how did I get started? Well, I started a long time ago being a personal trainer. I used to, work with both men and women. And I would, go to the gym and work out, train the ladies, train the men. And the ladies would come to me and sort of say, and everything would always evolve around relationships, when us ladies get together, what do? We talk about our boyfriends and relationships. And a lot of my ladies would sort of, open up to me and say, he just doesn't get it. Men don't get it. Men just they don't understand us. They're just so, difficult. And I would listen to a lot of that and, sort of be a good sounding board. But then I'd have the men on the other side that would tell me that they didn't quite understand women. What do women want? Stefania, you're a woman. What is she thinking? What do you think she'd be thinking? So they would ask me questions like that. And I thought, there's a gap. There's a gap there. And I want to be, an advocate. I want to be someone that can actually help men to actually understand female energy. Because a lot of the times men tend to feel like they're talking to their mates, they're talking to their male friends, and they forget they're actually talking to a female. So the very, subject they want, but they forget that they need to know a little bit more about female energy to connect with them, understand them, and have more easy flowing relationships, because ideally that's what everybody wants, right? So that's how it all started. So from my passion to, being a personal trainer, working with both men and women. But then I worked quite a lot with women. But then, I love my dear sisters, but I decided to go to the other side and help the men of the world. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, that's a case of feeling understood. Sarah Jane, have you ever felt totally understood by the opposite sex, by male?
Absolutely not. But then it's the book, isn't it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus or something. We are
Correct.
Totally different. Men and women are totally different. And I was only thinking about this yesterday, and a little piece came to me. And I know we had a conversation when we all met up earlier this week for the test. And what came to me was from my second marriage, and realizing that, and I've been one of these people, I was so insecure. I was majorly insecure. Felt unwanted, unloved, not good enough from such a young age, and certainly unworthy of anybody loving me. And so, of course, men and women, when you're that insecure in yourself and you find someone that loves you, but you're possibly in this situation where you will create a self-fulfilling prophecy that it can't last. And then it sort of like dawned on me that, okay, why does the individual, male or female, suddenly switch from being happy and comfortable and confident in that relationship to realizing that it's got to end? It's not going to last. There's something wrong with it, etc., etc., etc. You've been found out as being that unworthy, unlovable, etc. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, what was that flip? What was that switch that went off in me that then turned me into probably not a very nice person at times within the relationship to create the self-fulfilling prophecy? And I was thinking about my ex and his upbringing and the way his father was with his mother, because I did meet them both and I did spend time with them both. And his father, I don't think, spent much time with his mother and just expected her to do a whole load of stuff, which she just dutifully did without there being many conversations. I won't go into the bigger background of that. And I just thought, that's how he became. He became that person that went out to work, came in, sat and watched the telly till I put the meal on the table, sat and watched the telly rather than having a conversation with me, which will have been a trigger of, okay, I'm just useful now. I'm a slave in my own home. That is how it made me feel. So I went into creating the self-fulfilling prophecy. And my mother-in-law said to my mum one time, she speaks better to the cats than she does to him. And she was totally right. So I think first we all have to understand ourselves. What are our behaviors? What have we learned from viewing what's gone on with our parents to thinking that is okay to behave like that? And I'm going to leave it at that.
So I'm sitting here listening to this, and so we're ready for you, Stefania, because I'm thinking about the behaviors of previous relationships that I may have had where I was toxic, you know, and what that looks like and what that sign might have been that I should have seen in myself. And for me, it always went to when I felt like I was defending myself or I was in anger, you know, and that anger went to rage and how dare you? And it was indignant. And he's like, no, but my behavior doesn't dictate this. How could you ever dare chastise me? Or how could you ever dare call me on X when I know that I didn't behave that way, you know? And then the anger, you know, for me. So okay, we're ready. Define a toxic woman. We're ready to hear the characteristics.
Okay, well, that's really interesting, and thank you, Sarah, for sharing that, your experience. And of course, we've all had experiences. I also take my, responsibility in saying that, yeah, I have probably, well, not probably, have been toxic at times. And I think, we sometimes do it unconsciously. But however, if you do the work on yourself, then you can then realize that, hey, I was toxic and I don't want to be that person anymore. So, of course, transformation begins. But on, coming from, talking to men, as I do, making them aware of the signs, making them aware of what they actually put up with and just think is normal, because it might be, their family upbringing. It may be that's what he's used to seeing in his family dynamics between mum and dad. And of course, what's, that crucial age between 0 and 8 is where all those, message units go into the subconscious, and they're stored in there as known associations. And we've got some unknown ones in there as well, but they're stored in there. So they're going to resurface as you start dating or stepping into adult life and mixing with the opposite sex. And it goes for the ladies as well, but I'm talking from the aspect that, I talk to men. So you're so right, Sarah, in what you said, is working on yourself first, identifying what it is that, or who you are and what you want, to then you can then identify on the exterior. So what are the signs? There's many. So one is manipulation. Okay, that insidious, trait that we're all known to have and have gone down that road, whether you've done it with good intent, but for yourself, because manipulation is manipulation, right? And it's not healthy. Of course, one very important aspect is, the silent treatment, how you communicate, how she communicates to you. Does she communicate? Yesterday, actually, I did a live on, the silent treatment and how, detrimental and how much tremendous damage that can actually cause on a relationship as well as the person that's on the receiving end. Because you can understand when you create space and you want to give that person a bit of space, but to give them that total dead, cut off silent treatment, yeah, it's not pleasant at all. What else? We have when, toxic, abusive, emotional abuse, physical abuse. Again, I've known of men that not only have they been emotionally abused, but even physically abused. One of my clients, he said that he had to literally lock himself in his bedroom not to be abused. And he couldn't strike back because he said, that's just not my style. So it was easier for me to lock myself up in the room until she calmed down. I mean, in his case, she was, excessive, an excessive drinker. She was an alcoholic. So, of course, she was losing total control. But, that is abuse. That's toxic. That's a relationship we shouldn't be in. So that's just to name a few. What do you consider to be toxic, or what, again, the definition of toxic, what may be toxic for me may not be toxic for someone else. Disrespectful, talking to someone in a disrespectful way can be toxic, but for some people it's just like, well, that's all they know. That's what they think their self-worth is. So they don't see it as toxic until it gets so bad that it erodes their confidence, and they're spiraling down that dark hole that it's too late. And it's toxic. So what I do, sorry, Enolia?
I was going to say, just a quick question, is a high maintenance woman toxic? Because that's a category that's in there too.
High toxic, toxic women, high maintenance.
High maintenance, which is very demanding, very, very materialistic in terms of buy this, buy that for me. Always in your face. I remember telling my boys, my two sons, if she's high maintenance, don't bring her home. Because someone who's going to be demanding on your time every single time doesn't have respect for your time and thinks that they need to be the center of your world all the time, and that should be equally balanced. So I'm asking, is that considered toxic? And I'm sitting here thinking about this.
Well, yeah, I guess it can be, because if that woman is like so codependent in every aspect, in every way, and wanting, this. She wants money. She wants a new outfit. She wants to be driving a nice car. She doesn't want to be working. She wants him to do everything and pretty much bring the money home. Well, yeah, I mean, what's he? A slave to her? Do you know what I mean? That's just so unfair. I mean, that is toxic. That is considered a stage of toxicity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, then I told them right.
Because it's like, I think, you know, if that woman can sometimes see that he's a giver and she's a taker, she's going to keep taking. She's going to stop taking, because why would she really? She's got everything happening for her. And yeah, it's, I mean, it's sad to see. And you think, this is what I say to my male client. If you saw your friend, your male friend being treated the way you're being treated, what would you say to him? Because that's the funny thing. Men will watch their other male friends go through a relationship and they can see what toxicity is, what a toxic relationship is from the outside. And they're quick to say, you know, get rid of her. You know, she's just sucking your blood. She's sucking your blood. She's sucking the money out of you. And, you know, you're just, so they're quick to see it. But when they're actually in it, you know, it's difficult to see. It's difficult to, because bit by bit, it just erodes away your confidence. And you don't know any other way. And if she's very good at manipulating situations where you're down, for example, and that's when she's really nice to you. But if she sees that you're getting ahead and you're making progress and you're getting a little bit of attention at work and you're stepping up the ladder, she's then not going to comment. She's not going to be, you know, cheer you on or support you, because somehow she feels the light's being taken off her. And, you know, what about me? So that's another sign of toxicity as well, where she's only being nice to you when you're at your lowest.
Wow.
So then when you are at your lowest, what happens? You are craving so much for that love that she seems to give it to you right at that time when she knows you're just hanging on that edge and you won't let go, because it feels so good when she does. And then the minute you kind of like get back up, she'll just cut you down. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. Your thoughts, Sarah Jane?
I'm just sort of listening to everything that's being said. Okay, yes, I can only speak from sort of my perspective. But when I first met my second ex, I had my own home. So I did everything in that home. And he would come and spend weekends with me. And he would help. He would do things like the drying up as I did the washing up. But otherwise, I did everything. I needed to change the locks when I was selling the house, when we were buying a house together, because the estate agent lost the keys. So they paid for the locks to be changed, but I changed them because I was a very independent being, very independent. So, and when we first moved in together, I was content to do everything and work a full-time job. Gratefully, we didn't have children, because I don't know how I could have done that as well. So I was being a people pleaser, working a full-time job and running a home. Something will give. And it would be, actually, no, this is meant to be a partnership. So a man because I was thinking about somebody I know, and they got themselves into a relationship and were very happy to spend and spend and spend on this person. So I didn't spend money, I did things. This individual, it's the same sort of thing. The giving has to come to a stop or decrease. and it has to become a partnership. And if the other individual won't then make it a partnership, but what I accepted was that it was my fault. If I hadn't done that in the first place, and this is what I tried saying to this young man, and what we all tried saying to him was, stop trying to buy her.
Mm.
It is not about, let her have a job, let her have her own life, let her be an individual. If she's only staying with you because you keep buying things for her, that's not right. I know you want to be, almost going back to the old days where the little wife didn't, but women today don't want to be a little wife running the home. There are so few of those out there now because they enjoy their independence. And so, yes, there is an element of toxicity, but have you caused it?
Which is really interesting what you're saying there, Sarah, because we do teach people how to treat us.
So it's interesting, and it's so true. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I'm sitting here in Africa. And it's what you say, women want to be independent, but culturally, when you are trapped in a box of this is what a woman's supposed to do, this is how we've defined the role is supposed to be. And then, there you are stuck, all these expectations placed on you and projected onto you, and you feel trapped. And I find that some women are toxic because they're trapped.
Yeah.
And so I want to come at this at the other end of it. Okay, here you are, you want to define your woman as toxic because she's not doing what you expect her to do. She's not doing what you are projecting onto her to do or judging her to do. And then you're saying everything's wrong with her, but yet there's no reflection back on yourself. And so in those scenarios, understanding that sometimes men are blinded by that because they're going, well, this is how it was always done. This is how my mother always was. This is what I expect in my culture. And knowing that women are exposed every day to other cultures. So let's say the Eastern culture is exposed to the Western woman who goes, I'm going to work. I'm going to understand how to handle money. I'm going to have my own money. I'm going to hire someone to take care of some of these duties that are expected at home. I want to go to a restaurant. And that may sound trivial, but here where I am, people don't go to restaurants. They expect to go home and their woman cook. So I look at all of these cultural pieces. Where do they find their balance? And how does a male recognize that he might be defining a woman as toxic? But in fact, what it is that instead of being in the balance of things, of the relationship, he's 3/4 of the way and she's trapped in that 1/4.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Enolia. And this is where I say communication is key. Because we are in a changing world. And you're right. The eastern side of the world is looking to the west and they're, getting influenced. And the woman that was once upon a time at home with 3 or 4 children, strapped to the kitchen sink, to the bedroom, back to the kitchen sink, is no longer existing, but is in Africa. But they're still seeing what's on the other side of the world.
Yes, they are.
It's like seeing the bold and the beautiful. You're in one part of the world, but you can see what's happening in the other part of the world and you say, well, it's happening over there. We can make it happen here, right? But like you said, culturally, they're not catching up. Their minds and their They're just not up to that. And particularly if we're talking about Africa, very much so. And I know a lot about, you know, the African culture, because, you know, I have dated men from that culture as well. So, yeah, it is a challenge, and it means communicating. Even if that woman is feeling trapped, coming to her husband and sharing that with him, sharing what she feels with him. And, you know, Africa, from how I know it, you know, it comes from a very spiritual, religious force. Am I right? Right?
That's
so
correct.
Everything's about husband and wife and strong team and church and God and everything. But yet, when it comes to this communication, it somehow, you know, there's a gap. So this gap can be filled by communicating, and you know, as a woman, really simply coming to that man and saying, "This is how I feel," rather than pretending to be the good wife and pleasing him, but inside she feels trapped, and she's feeling trapped. But then she's going to turn bitter, and then she's going to turn slightly a bit more, more bitter, and then it goes to toxicity. Before you know it, you got a whole bit explosion. And, you know, for men on the other side, okay, to be more open, to be listening to their women, really sit back and have those catch-up times. I don't know, call it a date, call it a check-in on the relationship. Let's check in on our relationship. How's it going? How do you feel? How am I going? Is there anything that you want me to do different, better? I don't know. Creating a safe space where both parties can come together and share exactly what it is, because we're so good at going off and telling our girlfriends how we're feeling about our husbands or our boyfriends, or the males are so good going off to, you know, bury their heads in the sand if they're not going out telling their men. And particularly, I know in the African culture, the males won't dare to tell other males, or that their dirty laundry is not washed outside. Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Yeah, for the most part. So these men are even feeling more trapped, more confused, more like, and here they are seeing their wives going crazy, turning toxic, and not understanding why. Understanding why. You know, I had a client that I did I coach and did hypnotherapy on just this week. And he was giving his wife the silent treatment to the point where he would not sleep with her, you know. He'd go downstairs and sleep in the separate single bed. And this made her turn like she was ropeable. She was like, you know, screaming for affection. So what did she do? She did everything opposite to loving just to get that affection, because that's how she knows, that's what she grew up as, or that's what's culturally right for her, to get that attention from him. And the more she, you know, escalated in her anger and toxic state, the more he just totally severed and, you know, pulled the plug, as he said. So what do you get there? And he loves her. He loves him. But that gap of communicating is just so important.
And Sarah Jane, what are your thoughts?
Communication. It was exactly what was going through my head yesterday. Is the trouble is you don't necessarily register when the trigger comes, because you start a relationship and everything is roses. That's how it grows. It blossoms into love. But it's that trigger point. And if somebody can suss there's been a trigger, or as soon as one of them realizes there is an issue, and I hope that these conversations people listening to them can think, go back and look at their own relationships and think, it doesn't matter whether it's the man or the woman, but look and think, okay, do we need to talk? Do I still love this person enough to see whether we can genuinely sort it out? But my suggestion there would be, talk about getting to really know each other. What happened in that individual's early life? You know, if the woman's becoming toxic, is it the insecurities? You know, if the man's starting to ignore, what did he view? What was his upbringing that he thinks it's all right to be that way with his wife, his girlfriend, his partner? Talk to each other. You can resolve it if you're prepared to talk and truly listen, and then say, okay, what can we do together? What growth do we both require? I don't want to say use the word changes, because changes means that you're stopping being yourself. We have to be ourselves. We have to be true to ourselves. But it is finding the true ourself. Can we find that true ourself in our relationships? Can we help each other to love ourselves so that we can truly love each other? Because I think a woman that is in that toxic, there's no way she's loving herself.
No.
No way she is loving herself.
And nor is he. Nor is he.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Because anybody that's in a toxic relationship, if you are putting up with that toxicity, you are not loving yourself.
Absolutely.
So there is a total lack of love for self.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't selfish to love yourself. It is the most empowering thing you can do for yourself and everyone around you. So that communication, I wouldn't call it a date night. I really wouldn't, because that is not the type of conversation you have out over a meal or a drink. That is the type of conversation you have in the calm, hopefully, of your own home, behind closed doors, because it is a very private conversation of opening up and being, just letting people know who you really are, what you've gone through, how that has made you feel, and that there is something within what is going on that has activated that negative feeling within you. So that would be, that's what's going through my mind.
And I'm sitting here thinking, so what have my experiences been? And I'm going to take you back to a scenario that happened to me actually here while I was in Angola, which is I was coming back from Calendula Falls, and I was with my fiance, and we basically grabbed a cab, but a cab meaning a bus of 15 people, to take a 6-hour journey back to the capital. And when we jumped on, I didn't notice it until I sat down, got comfortable. I was the only woman. And I was the only woman on a bus full of 14 men. And eventually they asked my name and everything. And they said, "You're not from here." And I was like, "Well, why? Why do you say that?" "Because you're smiling." And it's like, well, what difference would that make? No, if you were Angolan, you wouldn't be smiling. Oh, an Angolan woman doesn't smile. And I was like thinking, well, that's not fair. You know, why does it have to be that? So I started going, why through translation. And we ended up having the deepest conversation that I've ever had with a group of men, ever. And what I discovered in that conversation is that through communication and through sharing my point of view, they really had never looked at relationships the way I did. And not because I was a Westerner, but because of the cultural conditioning and the concept of looking at a woman a different way. It had just never dawned on them the impact and the outcome of looking that way. So I want to ditto what you said about communication. And I'll give you an example. One example was that, one of the gentlemen was saying, well, a woman should be, I put a roof over her head, I put food in her mouth, I put clothes on her back. That's love. I show her love. And I'm like, no, that's not love. That's responsibility. But what she may be looking for is affection, intimacy, and not sleeping with someone, but just intimacy, actions that show that you care above and beyond a food in her mouth, clothes on her back, and a roof over her head. And then that would bring you closer to understanding, each other, because then she would share and feel that she could trust to say what she thinks. But how could she trust you to say what she thinks when all you do is scoff at her because you just gave her the 3 things that you think she needs and that's it? And then it was interesting because one of the gentlemen said to me, well, what do you think is the most important thing to an Angolan man? And I was like, okay, is it God? Is it love? And I was wrong. And he's like, it's our children. So I asked him the question, well, if children are the most important thing to you, wouldn't you want them brought up in a relationship that's loving, where 2 people are actually showing the actions of caring for one another? Wouldn't that bring the child up in the best circumstances possible? And he stepped back and he just looked at me and said, okay, I received that. And I said, okay, I received what you told me. So I guess my next question would be, how do we find that healing journey? And I know that you do hypnotherapy, I know that you do the coaching, but how does one recognize they're in a toxic relationship and then promote the next steps? And how do you help facilitate that, I guess?
Okay, that's a really good question, because a lot of the times we don't know. However, we feel it because, energy, we feel it through our bodies, and we're not happy. If you're not happy, and a lot of the times we know. I don't believe in when someone says, I don't know. People know. It's just they choose not to say. So deep down in our soul, we do know when we're not happy. So it starts with really tapping in yourself and asking, really sitting with yourself, say, am I happy? Why am I not happy? Go through the whole why question and ask yourself why 7 times. Every answer that you give yourself, you keep going deeper and deeper with the why, and you're really going to find out where you're at on the inside. So, sometimes, well, not sometimes, I believe everything happens for a reason, right? So the fact that you are in a toxic relationship can actually be a good thing. Why? Because it can be an awakening. It can be so painful, it can be so toxic, and rather than pushing, I speak to men, instead of pushing women away altogether, well, let's have a look at ourselves, get the healing within. So whoever you've been with and you were in that toxic relationship was only a relationship to mirror back to you as to how you feel about yourself. So we can, really learn to see it from that aspect. But a man that doesn't know, or a woman that has never been in that situation, what do? We just feel pain, don't we? We just are in pain, and we're not ready to dive deep and start. But for those people that are out there, and if this is resonating with you, start asking the whys. Start sitting with yourself and asking you, why am I feeling like this? Am I happy? How did I bring this on? What, start little bit by little bit. And then, there's books, there's lots of books out there, there's lots of audios, videos, or if have hit a real rock bottom and you need assistance, you ask for assistance. There's plenty of people out there, plenty of coaches, therapists, because you don't want to be sitting in a toxic relationship to the point where everything is eroded, and you fall into depression, even suicide. I mean, I've known of people really taking it to that extreme. How do we know that person isn't going to flip just one day and take his life or her life because of that one love? Because they're invested and they think that one person is their life. Now, you and I can't imagine that because we've done some work on ourselves, right? Which is no way that would. But for someone that has never done any work at all, that's how they see their world. That's how they feel in their world. So, start talking to people. Start surrounding yourself with more positive people. Get help. Get help. That's what I, suggest. Now, when I work with people, yes, and even if they're in a toxic relationship and they believe that it can work, we start, going through working with the individual and healing self first. Because, as you said, Sarah and Enolia, unless you heal self first, there's just no way that relationship's going to survive. And then by you making a change, hopefully your partner can see the change in you and will be inspired rather than repelled, because it can go either way. And you've got to be prepared of it going either way. Because you might be on that growth ladder and your partner does not want to go on that growth ladder, does not want to budge. And I've had that happen to me. I've experienced that, and it's not pleasant, because to leave someone that you love behind because you truly love them, but you're on your journey. You can't save that person unless they want to join that, train with you, so to speak. So, yes, hypnotherapy is a great modality, particularly for men, because it's non-invasive, okay? And it's not that stage show hypnotherapy, that you see in Vegas. It's totally different. It's, it's really very gentle, and it's, sort of peeling back the layers gently. And you can go as, gentle or as forceful. It depends on the individual. The client, the individual, is pretty much in the driver's seat. I'm just a channel. That's all that I am. And it gets right down to the root. It's rapid transformation. It definitely, there is, very quick. And because we're working through the subconscious mind, you see, and we're cutting through the critical mind and putting new message units in, it's really teaching both men and women that there is a way out. You don't have to remain stuck in old habits and old patterns. It's just knowing, having the tools to access that part of you that we all have access to, all of us. We just have to be curious enough. So for those of you, out there that, have heard of hypnosis but have shied away or a little bit afraid, get curious, because I always say that whatever you're, resisting will persist. And yeah, curiosity can be fun. You can have lots of fun with it as well, definitely. And what you think you're going in for hypnosis for may not necessarily be, the root cause, because you're going deeper. A lot of this happens with, people that come to me with wanting to quit smoking, lose weight, nail biting. That's just the symptomatic symptoms to really the underlying root causes. And I love working with the inner child, because the inner child, oh my God, that is
you just hit on Sarah Jane's love.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we're talking the same language, that it's that little boy inside, that little girl inside that just has been forgotten. And once you connect with that inner child, and, you know, I've done a lot of inner child work myself, and oh my God, I wish I knew it a long time ago. But, you know, it's the way it is. But you have a total different outlook on life. And it's a real falling in love with yourself, really falling in love with yourself. You know, that people say, oh, I'm loving myself, I'm falling in love with myself, falling in love with myself. Yeah, but you've got to get down to that little girl, little boy inside.
Yes. Sarah Jane, please go ahead. I know you're ready.
It is just absolute, for me, it is essential we all reconnect with that inner child. The only person who can heal us is us. You know, there are many, many different techniques. I have my own. You know, we all have our own techniques.
Yes, we do.
There are so many people today talking about the inner child. Yet when I first started doing working with the inner child, and I started with me. I know it works because of the work I've done with myself. And there have been aspects of this whole process when you've told us what the topic of the conversation was. And I am going to say a very big thank you to you, Stefania, because the title was, whoa, wow, that's wrong. And it was just like, no. We're here to talk about those things that people are not talking about. And it is really important. But over the last week or two, it was, and especially with yesterday, it has been, wow, I have been able to look at things. And somebody said to me, oh, you know, was it because I've worked with dragons and various other elementals as well. And somebody said, oh, was your little girl, because I was hospitalized as a baby, was your little girl aware of the dragons and the angels around her? No, she wasn't. But I am getting a sense of that little girl who was lying in that cot in hospital, being aware of me standing there with her. I am aware of her feeling loved and knowing that she is cared about, because of the work I have done with her. 20 years ago, or maybe let's go back to 25 instead, could I have had this conversation? Could I look the way I do? Could I talk with the passion with which I talk? No. Because I was still in that place of insecurity, of causing hurt to others, because of the hurt I felt was being caused to me. Gentlemen, are you hurting because you are not healing an aspect within you? As Stefania said, you are bringing this energy to you to help you to reconnect with yourself. And ladies, exactly the same. It is about the reconnection to self. It is about loving yourself, all of you, every aspect of you. That little girl or boy who was hurt by a single word as a child, or something much greater, but never, ever underestimate what may appear to be absolutely nothing to some, what it is to the child. And if a man has been hurt by a mother figure, a sister figure, an aunt figure, they are going to draw the female energy to help them wake up. And it goes the other way. It is a partnership on many, many levels that you can help each other if you choose to. But it has to be the choice of both. And if the other partner within that relationship, and it doesn't matter whether it's two gentlemen, two women with the masculine energy and the feminine energy, it does not matter if you are in any form of toxic relationship. Take care of yourself first. And if and offer the other individual the chance to join you. But heal your inner child. Because for me, as our inner child becomes happier, that seeps up through all the ages of ourselves to us of today. I am only the way I am today because my inner child, and different ages, I'm sure there's still stuff to come. And yes, it really helped me think about what was that switch that flipped me. And the same goes. Think about it. When did it start? How did it start? I'm not saying blame. There is nobody at fault. There is no blame here at all. It is two individuals who could help each other enormously to live the most amazing life, whether it is together or apart. But life is beautiful when you let it be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking about all of the things that were said in this program today. And one of the things that struck me early on that I didn't have the opportunity to speak about was the fact that you said when abuse takes place, verbal abuse or physical abuse, and it was like, oh my God, I never think about that in terms of a man. And the fact that you had mentioned that, and I'm sitting back and I'm like, she's right. There are so many men that take the verbal abuse and the physical abuse. And so I guess I want to appeal to the fact that if you are one of those men, ask for help. Ask for help to guide you through how to either mitigate the abuse, and if it's unable to be mitigated, then how to leave the relationship. In that, just as much as we support women, men need to be supported also in those regards. And then it's the same rule of thumb, which is basically it starts with self. Recognizing that you're in an abusive relationship, and then recognizing that you may need to walk away from this abusive relationship, and recognizing that you need help. That a lot of these things are not done by themselves, that assistance is needed, and not being afraid to ask for help, and not allowing the ego to lead and to basically drop into your heart and say, I need help. I need something to help me get out of this dynamic. This is not serving me. This isn't healthy. I need help. And as you said, Stefania, and as you said, Sarah Jane, coaching, hypnotherapy, there are many modalities of assistance, but the bottom line is no one can help you if you don't start with helping yourself and standing up and recognizing and being raw with yourself and facing yourself in the mirror and saying, this relationship has to change. This isn't serving either one of us. Something has to give here if I'm not happy.
Absolutely. And if I can just add to that, Enolia, when seeking for help, okay, and I say this to men, but this applies also to women, what is really important is you're going to someone who is very neutral.
Yes.
Be very aware, because remember, you are vibrating this energy of anger, frustration, disappointment, anger. You're feeling quite toxic as yourself, right? So your language towards women usually, from what I've heard, isn't really pleasant. So you want to be with someone that is not going to say, yeah, you're right, women are just bitches. And, like they're saying, and this will usually come from if they're coaching with a male, right? Because, they're not seeing it from a female point of view. So I think, and you can be with the male, but as long as he's remaining very neutral, and the female as well, because females can be, quite bitchy as well. And, oh, you shouldn't be with her and she's nasty. No judgment. Someone who's definitely not judging, who's very neutral, who's listening with, empathy and compassion, but is going to guide you and help you do the inner work. Okay, you don't want to be with someone that's going to influence you, because you're feeling very vulnerable, you're hurting, and it's very easy to fall into the hands of someone that says, well, I'm going to save you, I'm going to just, and take you down the path of not, viewing and seeing your situation with love. That's what I'm saying. We've got to really break it down. Forgiveness, love, letting go of resentment, all that has to come into it, because unless you're doing the work like that and you're looking at it from stepping out of the picture, then it can be a very difficult, long, tough road.
Yes. Well,
and I have experienced that myself from my end, where I've chosen the wrong coach or mentor to help me through situations, and I actually ended up worse off than before, because I had more anger then. It was just like more fueling my own disappointment. And
yeah. Well, on that note, I think that we're coming up on an hour. This has been a provocative conversation. Oh my God, it's been amazing. So I guess I'm going to just ask you and Sarah Jane for any last thoughts or last words. And if someone wanted to seek you out for coaching, for hypnotherapy, for relationship talk at all, how would they reach you? What would they do? What are the last words you would like to say to our audience?
Okay. Well, very simple. You can reach me at thegentlemanSquare.com that's my website. So all my information and contact is there. Of course, I'm on all the social media. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, there's quite a lot of free content there. The Gentleman Square. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Yes. So I'm on all those, or you can direct DM me, email me at info@stefaniapulio.com or info@thegentlemanSquare.com. So either way, you can reach me. And I do have an ebook out as well that you can get on my website. Master the Language of Attraction. So for those that still, are trying to get it together, or even men that are actually in relationships but need to go over a little bit of a review on how to spice up their relationship, it's a really good read. But while I'm here, for the viewers, I can offer them a little something just to experience, a little chat with me, a 20-minute call, or even a 20-minute relaxation hypnotherapy session. I would love for you to sample it, because it's just amazing. I know we've run out of time. I would have loved to have given everyone a little progressive relaxation, but next time, I guess. Next time.
Sarah, thank you.
If I finish off, Enolia, so do you want to finish off, and then I'll close this down?
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been informative to me. and to many of us out here. And again, if you're out there and if you feel like you're that toxic woman, again, seek help. You don't have to be. You do not have to be. And if you are in relationship and a man that's out there, I again ask for the assistance. Ask for, like you said, Stefania, the right assistance. We are all here, and we all work with our modalities. I do coaching, and I do coaching with men and women. Actually, Stefania and I have a show called Relationship Talk, where we just discuss, and I talk from a woman's point of view, and she talks from a man's point of view about relationships, just different dynamics in the relationship. So again, and I can be reached at enolia.live, enolia.live on my website. I'm good, Sarah. Sarah Jane.
I want to say a massive thank you to both of you, and for this topic, because it's really done, it's really helped me, surprising as that might sound, because it's touched other layers within me, and so thank you so much. And I think seeking support, maybe that support just is about somebody who will listen, so that you feel heard. Doesn't have to be about response.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes it was we just feel, if somebody would listen to us, if we could feel heard, we can sort it out in our own heads. So there are many, many different techniques. And so if you prefer a technique where there is you talking and the practitioner cannot even answer you, seriously, metamorphic technique I use. And as a practitioner, we have to be totally detached. And there are things we are really not allowed to say. You want to talk about religion and politics, we can do that. Talk about what's going on in your life, different practices, therapies. We can't say a word. So you can get to talk through the technique, and nobody will say anything back to you. And it's very difficult at times to bite your tongue. But there are many different. Go with what feels right for you. The practitioner has to feel right for you. If their energies do not feel right for you, you will gain, but you may not be aware of what you're gaining. Go with somebody that totally resonates with you, that has the empathy, not sympathy, that is detached from any outcome, totally empowering you and what is right for you. That is all I would say. And thank you so much. I am going to make sure that under the video, so if anybody's watching this live, please go back to the website, and you will find Enolia's, Stefania's, and my information all on the website. We've got About Us on the main Today's Conversation page. You'll find our information and our contact details there. If you're watching the video on YouTube, I will put it all under the video so that you can connect with us there. You haven't got to think, oh, what was it Stefania said? What was it Enolia said? What was it Sarah said? It's all under there. So please feel free to either connect with us, and you can I think with the replays, you can actually put information in and ask a question, and I will make sure that is forwarded to the right person. It might be that you want answers from all three of us. That's fine. We can do that. And do email. And you can send a message through the Gift of Healing TV website, which is where this is all based. So please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much. And on the 26th of May, I'm just losing track of where we are this month. What month we're even in this year. Enolia and I are going to be, and that's going to be Wednesday evening UK. Enolia and I are being joined by Sue Stone of the Sue Stone Foundation, and we are going to be talking about, we are all powerful beings believe it. And so if you're struggling with any of the things we've been talking about today, we have the power within, and we are going to be talking about the power we are. We are powerful beings. So I hope you will join us for that. And I hope that will then boost and help you with anything that may have resonated with you here today. Thank you, Stefania. Thank you, Enolia.
I just want to say
Thank you.
yeah, Sarah, thank you, Enolia. It was just a pleasure. It was great. I really enjoyed myself, and thanks for the opportunity to share with your audience as well. Thank you.
And we will have
I was going to say,
Stefania on Gift of Healing TV sharing that little taster that she was hoping to share today. And I think we said that was going to be the 9th of June. So please watch for that, folks, on giftofhealingtv.com. Take care, folks.
that's exactly what I was going to say. So that's fantastic. I'm glad. Yes, get the taste of her hypnotherapy on June 9th or contact her directly. So
yeah,
it's worth it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you, folks. Namaste.
Contact her and get a personal one yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.